Okay, guys, let's roll. And this time I've got a script to work from. So, knowing me though, I'll go off script. I always do, don't I? But no, I've got a script. I've used Sam, my AI companion, to help me draft it. Then I took it, polished it, and put in the facts that I got from other sources and all that Sam got for me as well. Okay, first, that story about Rupert Lowe of the Restore Britain movement. When the left have been wetting themselves, they had to rush out and buy new boxes of tissue paper to play with themselves with after they read that Rupert likes his coffee made with oat milk. And oh, they thought this was great. They thought Rupert Lowe had gone woke, as if. Actually, it did go on to show that Rupert's got a brilliant sense of humour because he released a tongue-in-cheek apology to his supporters for drinking coffee made with oat milk. That made me laugh. Did the left ever laugh, or do they just cry and whine all the time? Anyhow, what's the point of having a script? I've already gone off it. Okay, guys. The splintering of Britain's political right. Intro, calm conversational tone. So I'm going to be calm and conversational. You know, in politics, there's an old saying, when the dust settles, watch where the cracks form. Well, in Britain's political landscape today, the dust hasn't settled at all. It's still swirling, and the cracks on the right are starting to look like fault lines. I think we can all agree with that so far, guys. We're going to take a look at what's happening inside Reform UK, Advance UK, and Restore Britain, and the roles of Nigel Farage, Ben Habib, and Rupert Lowe. Because whether you like or loathe them, these three figures are shaping what might become the next realignment of the British right. I don't see how Advance UK can fail, actually. Right, first of all, Reform UK and Nigel Farage. Yeah, let's start with them. Nigel Farage's latest political project. Going off script. Right, Nigel always wants to be first, but he always comes in last because he walks away before the end of the race. Right, now you might remember Farage's fiery promises earlier in the year. Sweeping tax cuts, tearing up regulations, giving the establishment sleepless nights. But now the tone's changed. In his most recent economic speech, Farage announced a shift in direction. The £90 billion tax cuts pledge has quietly disappeared, replaced by a more measured message about business deregulation and spending cuts first, tax cuts later. There wouldn't have to be tax increases if we wasn't paying for all these illegal immigrants, hotels, credit cards, phones, bikes, lessons, driving lessons, and anything they want. Back on script. To some, this looks like Farage trying to appear government ready, turning Reform UK into a credible opposition rather than just a protest movement. To others, it's a retreat, watering down Reform's original firebrand message to look respectable. That's what he's doing. He is one of the establishment. He's controlled opposition. The trouble is, who is he controlled by? You know who he's controlled by. He's controlled by Muslim backers. Anyhow, either way, it's a strategic pivot. And in politics, pivots like that either open doors or shut them forever. I think this Reform Party will be Nigel's swan song because I don't see how he can survive after how this is all over. He's totally discredited. Anyhow, let's take a look at Ben Habib, okay? Enter Ben Habib and Advance UK. Once a loyal ally of Farage and deputy leader of Reform, earlier this year he broke away and launched a new party, Advance UK, of which I am a proud member, and so should you be. Habib says Reform lost its edge, that it's becoming just another political club. He is not wrong there. Advanced UK, he argues, will be the real voice of national sovereignty, border control and traditional values. No, here's where it gets interesting. Elon Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk, of all people, publicly backed Habib's new venture on X. Don't underestimate the support that Elon Musk can give in the future. He even took a swipe at Farage, this was Elon, calling him a weak sauce who would change nothing of significance politically. Well, we know that. Nigel isn't there to change anything, he's only there to give the illusion. No, he's not giving it the illusion. He is trying to sell hope that he will do something, but he won't. Now, whatever you think of Musk, that kind of an endorsement puts Advanced UK in the headlines. It doesn't mean votes yet, but it does mean oxygen. And in politics, oxygen is everything. You know that. By the way, did you know that, what is it? I think it's over 90% of the world media in Western countries is owned by just 6 international companies. 6 companies own 90% of the media. You wonder why you get so many mixed race adverts, black people in every single advert, right? On every product. It's because these major corporations own all the news media and all the advertising agencies. There's not a real independent one out there. And if there was, they wouldn't get a platform. Back on script, Advanced UK's message is clear. Britain first. I went to their fund when they first started up, yeah, with Paul Golding. Brussels never and Westminster beware. Yeah, and Westminster should beware. I want to see Nuremberg-style trials after all this is over. Tony Blair, Boris Johnson, all of them. Tried, imprisoned. Anyhow, Advanced UK is trying to position itself to the right of reform. No, they're not trying to position themselves right of reform. I was wrong to say that. They are to the right of reform. It is true that we are trying to capture reform supporters who feel the fire has gone out of the movement. By now, reform voters, supporters and members should be waking up to that fact. I was reading today how many reform members have been leaving the party recently, either running back to the Conservative Party, but the patriots from the Reform Party have been running over to join Advanced UK. Fact. Anyhow, then there is, of course, dear Rupert. Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. Where does he come into this? Personally, I think he does a great job with his petitions. That last one now is what, over 250,000, might be 500,000 by now on digital ID. I'm hoping he's going to start one to give British people the right to buy pepper spray so they can at least defend themselves. And if you can't get pepper spray, buy a pen. Right, Rupert Lowe, former Reform MP for Great Yarmouth, one-time chairman of Southampton Football Club. Well, no one's perfect. I'm not a football fan. Although I did like watching Georgie Best play back in the day. He was pretty good. And he drank a few pints, and I used to drink a few pints back then, so I guess that's why I liked him. Didn't wind up like him, though. I almost did. He had a bumpy ride. Earlier this year, Lowe was suspended from reform after accusations of bullying and threats, but the Crown Prosecution Service later found no evidence to proceed. They couldn't find no evidence because there was no evidence. We all know that was rigged charges. Has Farage ever had the balls to apologise? No, he hasn't. No, he was frightened of Rupert, and I don't blame him. Undeterred, Lowe launched his own project, Restore Britain. If you're not a member of it, you should be. Restore Britain isn't a political party. It is not a threat to Advance UK. It is totally separate. If you like, it's like the Army and the Navy. Yeah? Both different branches of the military, but both serving the country in their own way. Anyhow, what is Rupert's message to Britain? Britain needs to rediscover pride, productivity and purpose. and stop bending the knee to what he calls the globalist agenda. Back in the day, 1976, when I started, I first learned about the New World Order, it was called then, and people used to laugh at us and say it doesn't exist. I was told about the Bilderberg Committee, yeah, the Grove, organizations like that, and the people behind it and who were the members, and people laughed at us. And at first, when I learned about it for the first time, I laughed as well and thought, conspiracy freaks. But everything they said has come to pass, and everything that people like me say now that is coming will happen. Anyhow, I said I'd go off script, didn't I, guys? So now we have 3 overlapping banners: Reform UK, Advance UK and Restore Britain, each led by people who only a year ago were standing shoulder to shoulder, or might have been anyhow, or should have been. So what's really going on? Zoom out a little, and what we've seen is the fragmentation of the populist right in Britain. Think of it as a political family feud. Everyone agrees on the dinner menu, but nobody can decide who gets to carve the roast. Farage wants reform to look credible enough to challenge Westminster head-on. Habib wants Advance UK to reclaim the moral fibre of Brexit and push harder against the establishment. And Lowe, well, Lowe sees himself as the traditionalist, the man bringing backbone to British politics. If you follow Rupert Lowe on YouTube, I like to read his daily comments every single day. That guy is good. And if he can do it at his age, and I can do what I'm doing at my age, you younger guys got to step up to the plate and take your place in the trench with the rest of us. Anyhow, I thought long and hard before I wrote this. The irony is they could easily split the very vote their old chase said. I've been thinking and reading the comments, could we split the vote? Could we split the vote? Quite possibly. But if Farage gets in, it makes no difference, because he'll just do what Labour and Tories are doing. That's what he's there for. So what was my conclusion? What does this mean? It means Britain's right-wing electorate is being courted by 3 voices, each promising renewal but speaking slightly different dialects of discontent. Farage is saying, trust me, I've matured, I can lead responsibly. Habib is saying, he's gone soft, we'll do it properly. And Lowe is saying, you're both missing the point, we need old-fashioned values and national pride. Right. Let's go through those 3 things. Farage, trust me, I've matured. I can lead responsibly. Bollocks. Bullshit. I would rather dip my head in a deep fat fryer than trust Farage. Ben Habib saying quite correctly, he's gone soft, we'll do it properly. I believe Ben Habib. I've been listening to him a lot. Now, I'll say something after this. And Rupert, dear Rupert, is saying, you're both missing the point. We need old-fashioned values and national pride. I'll go along with number 2 and number 3. I'm thinking about whether I should say something. Not now, maybe in another video. Right. And who's in the background? Elon Musk, a billionaire sitting on another continent, is throwing fuel on fire through tweets and endorsements, turning what might have been a quiet rivalry, it would never have been quiet, into a global talking point. Politics, pure theatre. Talk about the great game. I suppose those of you out there who know about history know what the great game was. War never changes. Politics never change. Okay, and here's where I'm supposed to get serious. Not that I'm always serious, even if I'm laughing. If these movements split votes in the next general election, it could hand Labour over the Conservatives' easy victories in marginal seats. Well, the true controllers of the marginal seats are the Muslims now. Over 60 in 60 constituencies, they could decide who wins the next general election. Fact. Truth of it is, only British-born people of British heritage should be allowed to stand for Member of Parliament. I firmly believe that. That's another story. And while all three groups promise to save Britain, they might actually end up saving the very establishment they rail against. No. But, and it's a big but, if one of them gains tractions and manages to unite the others behind a single flag, that could reshape British politics entirely. It could create a populist bloc not seen since the Brexit Party days, and this time they'd be aiming for government, not just protest. That is the target, government. And after the government, the deep state. They are going to be the ones, the real maggots to dig out of our body. Parasites bleeding us dry. No Muslim should be working for the Foreign Office or the Crown Prosecution Service. No Muslim should be serving in the armed forces. Seen enough blue on blue kills in my time. And this time they'd be aiming for government, not just protest. So the real question is, who's going to blink first? Will Ben Habib's Advance UK merge back into reform? I'm asking a question. What do you think? Will Lowe align with one or the other? I'd like him to align with Ben. But I'm just asking the questions. You can make up your own minds and let me know in the comments. And this is what I think will happen. Or will all three fight it out, split in the right wing, while Labour coasts comfortably to victory? Labour, I should have typed Conservative. And it won't be, I see Rupert moving over to more to Advance. Anyhow, so what's the takeaways from all this, guys? You wait in, we'll get to the meat. Reform UK under fake Farage is moderating. It's seeking credibility and power rather than protest. That isn't going to work. Nor anymore. Advance under Ben is taking a harder line. Did I get my H right? Harder line. Appealing to those who think reform's gone soft. I don't believe that the membership of reform has gone soft. I think the leadership is soft and wrong. Anyhow, if you're a Reform Party member, wake up, guys, smell the coffee, and get over to Advance UK now. Right. And Rupert Lowe, restore Britain. More nationalists, more patriots. But have I said before, Rupert's movement is just that. It is a movement. Don't forget that, guys. Just another branch of our armed forces, if you like. So, it's true, we are fracturing. Anyhow, the big test here, and I'm back on script now. The big test will come not on social media, but at the ballot box. And history tells us the British public prefer leaders who look steady, not scattershot. Yeah. We want leaders who've got a firm voice and a clear direction to lead them in. Okay then, guys. We're in the middle of a storm of turbulence. If history's any guide, some of these names will vanish. Others might just find the right wind and sail further than anyone expects. As always, the British voter will decide who's steering the ship and who's just shouting from the dock. This last sentence, Sam Perrin. I can't believe her sometimes. And on that note, as Captain Renault once said in Casablanca, round up the usual suspects, because in politics they always seem to reappear, just wearing a different badge. So what do you think? Have I persuaded you to consider voting Advance UK? Perhaps have I managed to convince you to finally subscribe to this channel and help it grow? I don't know. I'll have to wait and have a look at the tech, whatever they call it on it, to monitor the page. Anyhow, you've been listening to Paul Morris, Voice of the British Resistance, attempting to read from a script. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you. See you on the beach. Bye now.